How much energy have you wasted on pointless arguments? How many times have you found yourself trapped in conflicts that drain you, leaving you exhausted and resentful? Imagine this. Every second you spend reacting to others' noise is a drop of your lifeblood spilled onto barren soil. What others say is their reality. What you absorb becomes yours. Right now, buried in the chaos of opinions, notifications, and judgments, you're losing you, your focus, your peace, your power. But what if I told you there's a forbidden secret from ancient Buddhist masters that flips the script? A radical way to disarm toxicity, silence self-doubt, and reclaim your energy without saying a word. This isn't about selfishness. It's about wielding silence like a blade to cut through the noise. Think of every petty argument, every social media jab, every backhanded compliment as poison. You've been drinking it for years. What if you could become immune? What if you could walk through fire and not burn? The answer isn't meditation apps or self-help cliches. It's a 2,500-year-old strategy so counterintuitive, so brutally effective, that it's been hidden from the masses. Your ego will hate it, your fears will resist it. But your soul, it's begging for it. By the end of this video, you'll master the art of ignoring wisely, not to escape life, but to dominate it. If you take one thing from this, let it be this: your attention is your throne. Stop surrendering it to beggars. Stay until the end. The bonus lesson? It's the key to turning critics into ghosts, silent, powerless, and irrelevant. Press play. Your freedom starts now. Let's start with number 1. The power of ignoring others. 72% of people regret caring too much. Here's the fix. Most of us spend our days drowning in opinions. Someone disapproves of your choices. A stranger online mocks your beliefs. A colleague questions your abilities. And suddenly, your peace is shattered. But what if you didn't react? What if you ignored them completely? Not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. Imagine a mountain in a storm. The winds scream, the rain lashes against its surface, yet it remains unmoved. It does not shrink in fear or rage against the sky. It simply exists, solid, unshaken. This is the power of ignoring others. Because the truth is, what people say is their reality. But what you choose to absorb, that becomes yours. There's a common misunderstanding that ignoring is weakness, that silence means surrender. But in Buddhism, true power is not in reaction, it's in mastery over the self. A monk once said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The same applies to words. If someone throws insults, doubts, or negativity your way, but you do not pick them up, they remain with the giver. You walk away untouched. Think about your daily life. How much energy do you waste reacting to things that don't matter? A rude comment, a passive-aggressive remark, the pressure to conform, every reaction drains you. But when you choose silence, you reclaim your energy. You become the observer, not the puppet of other people's emotions. Steve Jobs, one of the most visionary minds in history, mastered this principle. He ignored the noise, the critics who doubted his ideas, the pressure to follow trends. Instead, he focused only on what aligned with his purpose. And because of that, he changed the world. He understood that clarity comes not from listening to everyone, but from tuning out what doesn't serve you. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Ignoring is not just self-protection, it's also an act of compassion. When you refuse to engage in negativity, you stop fueling it. You remove the conflict, the need to defend, the cycle of reaction. In doing so, you free not just yourself, but the other person from the burden of your resistance. Sometimes, The best way to teach someone is to give them the silence they fear. So, how do you apply this? Try a 24-hour opinion fast. No social media, no checking comments, likes, or reactions, no engaging in unnecessary debates. Just observe how your mind feels when it is free from external noise. Do you feel lighter, more focused? This is the beginning of true mental discipline. Because the world will never stop shouting, opinions will always exist. But your power lies in choosing what enters your mind. Be like the mountain. Let the winds howl, but never let them shake your foundation. Now, ask yourself, when has ignoring someone's judgment changed your life? Comment, free, if you're ready to let go. 2. The trap of reaction. Most people live as puppets, dancing to the pull of external strings. An insult yanks one way and anger flares. A passive-aggressive comment pulls another and frustration rises. Someone doubts you and suddenly you doubt yourself. But what if you could cut the strings? What if, instead of reacting, you reclaimed control? Reacting is slavery. Responding is sovereignty. Every time you react on impulse, you hand over your power. You let others dictate your emotions, your focus, your peace. But the moment you pause, the moment you refuse to be pulled, you break free. You become the puppeteer, not the puppet. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not caused by events, but by our attachment to them. A monk once asked his student, if someone strikes water with a stick, does the water suffer? The student shook his head. Exactly, said the monk. Be like the water. Do not hold the blow. Let it pass through. The problem is, most people grasp the stick, hold onto the wound, and strike themselves with it over and over again. They relive insults, dwell on past conflicts, and react without reflection, trapping themselves in an endless cycle of suffering. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague undermines you. Your instinct is to snap back to prove your worth. But what if instead you said nothing? What if you simply let their words float past like a leaf on a river? Silence is disruptive. It forces people to face their own energy without your resistance to fuel it. This is your greatest leverage, doing nothing. Because when someone expects a fight and you refuse to engage, they lose control over you. History's most disciplined minds mastered this. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, faced criticism daily but rarely reacted. He understood that control over one's emotions was the highest form of power. Bruce Lee echoed this wisdom. Be like water. Water does not fight the obstacles in its way. It flows around them, carving mountains in silence. But here's the hidden truth. Most battles are illusions. When you engage in a fight, you think you are defending yourself. In reality, you are fueling the fire, strengthening the very thing you wish to silence. Every unnecessary reaction is a chain linking you to another's energy. And the more you react, the heavier the chains become. True mastery is found in stillness, in the space between stimulus and response. That space is where your freedom begins. So how do you train yourself? The next time you feel provoked, whisper to yourself, "This is not my storm." Then breathe for 10 seconds before responding. In that pause, you will find clarity. You will see the truth. Most conflicts are not worth your energy. Most words do not need an answer. Most people are searching for a reaction, not a resolution. But when you deny them that reaction, they are left to face their own reflection. The world thrives on reaction. The news, social media, toxic conversations, they all seek to pull you in, to make you dance to their chaos. But you don't have to play their game. The strongest person in the room is not the loudest, but the one who remains unmoved. Every time you resist the urge to react, you sharpen your discipline, you strengthen your inner world. So ask yourself, what situation today demands your silence, not your sword? Comment free if you choose peace over reaction. 3. Why do we argue so much? Most arguments are not about truth. They are about winning, about feeding the ego. Two people locked in battle, not to understand, but to prove themselves right. But here's the question. If both believe they are right, who is truly listening? Imagine two mirrors facing each other, reflecting endlessly, creating an illusion of depth when in reality, there is nothing but emptiness. This is the nature of arguments, an endless loop of reflections, each person projecting their own fears, insecurities, and pride onto the other. But what happens when one mirror is removed? The illusion collapses, the cycle ends, and that is where true power lies, not in proving, but in stepping away. Debating a fool turns you into their theater. The moment you engage in pointless conflict, you become an actor in someone else's drama. The louder the argument, the less likely anyone is truly being heard. Buddhism teaches that clinging to opinions is like holding onto fire. No matter how tightly you grip it, you are the one who burns. The wise do not fight battles that do not serve them. They do not waste breath trying to change minds that are closed. They understand that silence is not defeat, but mastery. Think of a time when you were caught in an argument, maybe with a friend, a colleague, a stranger online. You felt your heart race, your words sharpen, your energy drain. But did it change anything? Did it bring peace? Or did it leave you exhausted, replaying every word, thinking of what you should have said? Now imagine if, instead of engaging, you had simply smiled and stepped back. No reaction, no resistance, just space. That silence would have spoken louder than any words ever could. Throughout history, the most powerful individuals have understood this. Nelson Mandela, known for his wisdom and patience, once said, "You will achieve more in this world through acts of mercy than through acts of retribution." He knew that true change does not come from fighting every battle, but from knowing which ones to walk away from. Even the Buddha himself, when insulted, did not retaliate. He simply said, "If you refuse to accept a gift, it remains with the giver." Words are gifts. Some are worth accepting. Most are not. Here's where it gets even more surprising. The person who walks away controls the narrative. If someone provokes you and you do not react, they are left alone with their own words. Their anger has nowhere to go. Their energy dissolves. Meanwhile, you remain at peace, unshaken. The world is full of noise, arguments waiting to pull you in, debates designed to drain you. But not every noise deserves your attention. Not every fight is yours to fight. So, before engaging in an argument, ask yourself, will this matter in 10 years? If the answer is no, let it go. Smile, step back, free yourself. Because the greatest power is not in speaking, but in knowing when to stay silent. Now reflect. What noise do you need to mute to hear yourself? Comment free if you choose peace over pointless battles. 4. The art of the non-response. Most people believe that words hold power, but they forget one truth: so does silence. Silence unsettles. It confuses. It strips away the fuel that keeps unnecessary battles alive. When someone expects a reaction and receives nothing, they are left in their own storm, fighting shadows that no longer exist. Silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the art of denying entry to conversations that do not serve you. Like a locked door, it signals that some voices will not be given access to your peace. Not every thought deserves a voice, and not every voice deserves your ear. Yet, people feel compelled to respond, to explain, to justify. They fear being misunderstood, as if silence means surrender. But does a mountain explain why it does not move? Does the ocean justify why it does not resist the wind? True strength is not found in proving yourself, but in knowing when to let noise pass unchallenged. Imagine someone tries to provoke you, an insult, a passive-aggressive remark, a pointed criticism. The usual response: defend, argue, retaliate. But what if instead you said nothing? What if you simply met their words with stillness? The absence of reaction creates a vacuum, one that the other person cannot control. In that space, their own words echo back at them, forcing them to face the weight of what they have said. This is the power of non-response. It denies others the drama they crave. Buddhist teachings remind us that reaction is attachment. If you react, you are hooked. You are caught in the web of another's emotions, dancing to a rhythm that is not your own. But detachment, that is freedom. A Zen master once said, "A wise man does not chase the wind, nor argue with the rain. When faced with provocation, he simply observes, unmoved, because he understands that silence speaks in ways that words never could." History proves this time and time again. Gandhi, facing hatred, did not scream. He stood in silence, and that silence was louder than any argument. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by betrayal, did not engage in petty disputes. He wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their power did not come from words, but from their ability to withhold them. But how do you practice this? Start with a simple rule, a word quota. When faced with negativity, limit yourself to 5 words or fewer. If a situation does not deserve your energy, say less. If a conflict does not serve your peace, let silence be your answer. The less you engage, the stronger you become. The world will always demand your response, pulling you into unnecessary conflicts, forcing you to explain yourself. But remember, you do not owe your energy to every voice that calls your name. Protect your peace. Lock the door. Let silence speak. Now, reflect. Where in your life do you need to embrace the power of non-response? Comment "free" if you choose silence over unnecessary battles. 5. When to speak and when to stay silent. Not every thought needs to be spoken, and not every silence needs to be broken. In a world obsessed with noise, with opinions hurled like weapons and arguments fought like battles, wisdom lies in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Words can be like bridges, connecting understanding or leading to nowhere. But not every bridge is worth crossing. Some only take you deeper into chaos. Before you speak, ask yourself, is the destination worth the journey? Truth needs no defense. Lies crumble on their own. Yet people waste their breath trying to correct misunderstandings, trying to explain themselves to those who have already decided not to listen. But silence? Silence is a mirror. It forces others to face their own assumptions without your interference. The wisest words are often the ones never said. There is strength in letting go of the need to be right, in refusing to fuel unnecessary battles. Imagine you are in a heated conversation. Someone accuses you of something false. Your instinct is to defend, to argue, to prove them wrong. But what if instead you paused? What if you chose not to engage? The moment you stop feeding energy into conflict, it weakens. Without resistance, a wave crashes into stillness. Without reaction, an insult loses its power. This is the mastery of speech, not just knowing what to say, but knowing when to say nothing at all. Buddhist philosophy teaches that speech should pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If the answer is no, let silence be your answer. The Buddha himself remained silent when asked meaningless questions, knowing that not all words lead to wisdom. He understood that truth does not need to fight to exist. It stands unmoved, like a mountain untouched by the winds of opinion. History shows us this power. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." They understood that unnecessary words are wasted energy. That true control comes not from reacting, but from choosing when to respond. So how do you practice this? Use the pause. Before responding, take a breath and ask, is this kind? Is this necessary? If it isn't, hold your peace. Words are like arrows. Once released, they cannot be taken back. Choose them wisely. The world is filled with voices trying to be louder, but power belongs to those who know when to be silent. The next time someone provokes you, remember, you do not have to respond. You do not have to explain. Your peace is not up for debate. Speak only if your words improve upon silence. And if they do not, then let silence speak for you. Now reflect, what is one thing you wish you had left unsaid? Comment, power, if you choose wisdom over wasted words. 6. Strategies to avoid conflict. Most people believe conflict is something they must fight through, as if every disagreement is a battle that needs a winner. But what if the strongest strategy wasn't resistance, but non-engagement? What if, instead of clashing, you became untouchable? Conflict is a fire, and every reaction is fuel. Without fuel, the fire dies. Without resistance, tension fades. You are not obligated to fight battles that drain your energy. Conflict is optional. You avoid it by refusing to play the game. You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist. The moment you engage in an argument, you tighten your grip on negativity. You become a participant in someone else's chaos. But what happens if you don't tighten your fist? What happens if you simply let the moment pass through you? Like mist, you allow words to go right through, untouched, unaffected, unshaken. This is the art of conflict avoidance, not through weakness, but through mastery of self-control. Imagine someone insults you. They mock your choices, question your intelligence, or challenge your beliefs. Instinct tells you to fight back, to prove them wrong. But instead, you smile and say, "That's an interesting perspective." Suddenly, the energy shifts. There is no argument, no fuel for the fire. They expected resistance, but you gave them mist. They wanted a reaction, but you remained still. Agreement, even if superficial, disarms aggression. A simple "you might be right" can dissolve tension before it even begins. Buddhist philosophy teaches that clinging to the need to be right is the root of suffering. The Buddha once said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned." Let go of the coal. Let go of the need to win. True mastery is in walking away unscarred, not proving a point to someone who won't understand. Great leaders have understood this throughout history. Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, refused to let conflict consume him. Instead of anger, he chose understanding. Instead of fighting every injustice with rage, he disarmed it with wisdom. He knew that some battles are not worth fighting, not because they cannot be won, but because they drain the soul in the process. How do you practice this? The next time someone tries to pull you into an argument, pause. Instead of reacting, say, "Interesting perspective." Instead of defending, ask yourself, "Is this worth my peace?" Most battles are won by simply refusing to show up. Your silence, your indifference, your ability to let words pass through you, this is your greatest strength. The world will always try to drag you into unnecessary fights. But remember, you don't have to engage. You don't have to defend. Let your energy be reserved for things that truly matter. A fire ignored will burn itself out. Walk away and let conflict fade into nothingness. Now reflect. What unnecessary battle can you choose to avoid today? Comment "free" if you choose peace over pointless conflict. 7. The freedom of not getting hooked. Most people spend their lives reacting, hooked by every compliment, every insult, every passing opinion. They are like fish, endlessly biting at bait, never realizing they have the choice to swim freely. But what if you could break free from this cycle? What if you could live unhooked, untouched by both praise and criticism? The secret to true freedom is detachment, not in a way that makes you cold or indifferent, but in a way that keeps you sovereign over your own mind. The hook has no power until you bite. This is the truth most people never realize. When someone criticizes you, it only affects you if you accept it as truth. When someone flatters you, it only changes you if you cling to it. Imagine being called a fool. Instantly, you feel the sting, the urge to defend, to prove yourself. But what if you simply didn't react? What if you let the words pass like the wind through trees, heard but never held? The moment you do this, the hook dissolves. But here's the real test. Indifference to praise is even harder and more freeing than ignoring criticism. When someone tells you that you're brilliant, beautiful, or talented, your ego swells. You attach to this identity, and suddenly you fear losing it. Praise becomes another hook, keeping you enslaved to external validation. This is why Buddhist monks practice humility, not because they deny their worth, but because they refuse to be defined by others' words. Buddha once said, "Praise and blame, gain and loss, pleasure and pain. These are just waves in the ocean. Stay still and they cannot drown you." The world will always throw bait, through opinions, gossip, flattery, and judgment. Your power lies in swimming past it, choosing not to bite. To practice this, take a recent compliment or criticism, write it down, and burn it. Watch the smoke rise and realize, neither praise nor blame has power over you unless you let it. History's strongest minds understood this. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, was once told he was the greatest leader of Rome. He responded, "If you knew me better, you would not say that." He knew that if he absorbed praise, he would also absorb insult. So he detached from both. Steve Jobs, known for his unwavering focus, ignored not only his critics, but also his admirers. He understood that being swayed by external voices meant losing his own. You have this same power. The next time someone compliments or criticizes you, pause. Observe your mind. Do you feel the urge to grasp or reject? Instead, do nothing. Let the words exist without ownership. This is the path to true freedom. You are not the praise. You are not the criticism. You are simply aware, moving through life like the ocean, deep, steady, and untouched by surface waves. Now, reflect. What hook have you been biting into lately? Are you ready to let go? Comment "free" if you choose to swim past the bait and reclaim your peace. 8. How to cultivate an unshakable mind. Most people believe strength comes from control. Controlling situations, controlling people, controlling how life unfolds. But what if real strength came from the opposite? What if the mind became strongest, not through control, but through stillness? An unshakable mind is not one that bends the world to its will. It is one that remains unmoved no matter what the world does. It is like a fortress with invisible walls. Chaos cannot breach what it cannot find. A still mind is a sanctuary. Guard its gates fiercely. This is the foundation of mental resilience. But most people leave their gates wide open, allowing every opinion, every distraction, every small inconvenience to rattle their peace. They let an unkind word ruin their day, a single failure define their worth, a moment of discomfort dictate their actions. They react instead of respond. They cling instead of observe. This is why their minds are restless, because they are prisoners of everything external. Buddhist wisdom teaches that the real enemy of peace is not distraction itself, but the illusion that we must control everything. The harder you try to control the mind, the more chaotic it becomes. It's like trying to calm a pond by thrashing your hands in the water. The secret: let it settle on its own. Meditation is not about forcing stillness. It is about stepping back and allowing stillness to arise naturally. When you master this, nothing shakes you. Not an insult, not a failure, not even uncertainty. Imagine a storm raging outside a fortress. The wind howls, the rain pounds against the walls, but inside it is silent. The world can scream, but if your mind remains still, you are untouchable. This is why Buddhist monks practice mindfulness daily, not to escape life, but to meet it with unwavering stability. They do not suppress emotions or thoughts. They simply do not chase them. They watch them rise and fall, knowing that everything is temporary. To build this fortress within yourself, start small. Practice micro-meditations, 3 mindful breaths before every meal. In those few moments, become aware of the breath entering and leaving your body. Feel its rhythm. This is training for the mind, just as lifting weights is training for the body. The more you practice, the more your mind learns to return to stillness effortlessly. Over time, moments of frustration, fear, or anger will no longer consume you. You will observe them, but you will not become them. The most powerful people in history were not those who controlled everything. They were those who mastered their own minds. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire but practiced detachment. The Dalai Lama lost his homeland but kept his peace. These figures understood that an unshakable mind is the only true freedom. You cannot control the world, but you can control how much of it you let inside your mind. So ask yourself, are you guarding your mind or leaving its gates open to every passing storm? Try this. Before your next meal, take 3 deep breaths and feel the difference. Comment "still" if you choose to build your fortress and reclaim your peace. 9. The illusion of control. Most people spend their lives tangled in an invisible war, an exhausting battle to control how others see them. They craft their words carefully, shape their actions to fit expectations, and hesitate before making decisions, fearing judgment. But no matter how much effort they put in, people still misunderstand them. They are still criticized. They are still misinterpreted. The truth is, trying to control how others perceive you is like trying to grasp water. It slips through your fingers every time. Let others misunderstand you. Clarity is your compass, not theirs. You do not exist to be perfectly explained, nor to be universally accepted. The mind craves validation, but Buddhist wisdom teaches that true peace comes from releasing the need for approval. Consider a shadow chasing its source. No matter how fast it moves, it can never catch up. This is the illusion of control. The more you chase approval, the more it eludes you. But the moment you stop, The moment you let go, you realize that the only thing you ever needed was your own clarity. Think about the last time someone misjudged you. Maybe they called you selfish for setting a boundary, lazy for choosing rest, or arrogant for standing firm in your truth. What if their words were never about you, but about their own perception? What if their definition of selfish simply meant that you were no longer sacrificing yourself for their comfort? Sometimes being called selfish is the greatest compliment. It means you have chosen yourself over societal guilt. Imagine a bird flying across the sky. People on the ground will see it differently depending on where they stand. One might say it flies too high, another might think it moves too slow. Someone else might barely notice it at all. But does the bird stop to correct them? Does it argue, explain, or beg to be understood? Number. It keeps flying, unaffected by how it is perceived. The lesson is simple. Live like the bird. Keep moving forward. Let people think what they will, for their opinions do not change your wings. The hardest thing to accept is that no matter what you do, you will never be able to control how others see you. You can explain yourself 1,000 times, but people will only hear what their mind is ready to understand. That is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to be clear in your own path, to trust your own decisions, and to live in alignment with your truth, regardless of who approves. Take a moment to reflect. Whose approval are you still chasing? A friend, a parent, society? Are you ready to release that weight? Try this. Whenever you feel misunderstood, whisper to yourself, "I do not need to be explained." Feel the freedom in that. Comment, "Free," if you are ready to release the illusion of control and walk your path untethered. 10. The alchemy of energy. Every day, you wake up with a limited amount of energy, your mental, emotional, and spiritual currency. How you spend it determines the strength of your mind, the depth of your focus, and the quality of your life. But most people unknowingly waste this precious resource. They spend it arguing with fools, defending themselves to those who refuse to understand, reacting to every insult, and trying to prove their worth to people who were never listening. And at the end of the day, they wonder why they feel so drained. The truth is simple. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you give power to distractions, your mind weakens. If you direct it inward, you become unshakable. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. Every strike of the hammer shapes the blade, refining its edge, increasing its sharpness. But if he wastes his strength hammering on weak metal, the sword will never form. The same is true for your mind. If you keep sharpening it against pointless battles, against critics, toxic people, and meaningless conflicts, you dull your own potential. Instead, what if you redirected that energy towards self-mastery? What if, instead of reacting, you observed? Instead of arguing, you evolved. Instead of proving yourself, you simply became. Attention is currency. Spend it on inner gold, not outer fools. Every time you engage with negativity, you make a transaction. The question is, are you making an investment or are you being robbed? Most people don't realize that their biggest enemies are actually unpaid teachers. The ones who provoke you, the ones who criticize you, the ones who push your buttons, they are revealing the areas within you that need mastery. The problem is, most people react blindly instead of learning the lesson. They take the bait, they get angry, they waste energy fighting battles that never needed to be fought. But the wise do something different. They study the pattern, extract the wisdom, and ignore the noise. Think of the last time someone upset you. Did their words truly have power, or did you give them power by reacting? What if, instead of engaging, you had paused, observed, and let it pass? This is the secret of the masters. They don't waste energy proving their strength because their strength is already known to them. They have nothing to defend, nothing to chase, and nothing to prove. That is real power. Audit your daily interactions. Which ones drain you? Which ones energize you? Who in your life pulls you into distraction, and who challenges you to grow? Trim the drains. Redirect your energy. Stop sharpening your mind on meaningless battles. Focus on mastery, on wisdom, on building an unshakable inner world. Comment, focus, if you are ready to stop wasting your energy and start transforming it into power. Bonus principle: the phoenix ignorance. A fire doesn't argue with the wind, it simply burns. The same is true for those who master the art of ignoring. It's not about avoidance, but about transformation. Ignoring is not weakness, it is choosing what deserves your energy. A phoenix doesn't rise by clinging to old ashes, it lets the fire consume everything that no longer serves it. What if your distractions, your critics, and your doubts were just fuel for your rebirth? Most people think ignoring is passive, that it's surrendering. But the truth is, ignoring is one of the most powerful forms of action. It says, I am no longer controlled by what does not serve me. When a lion walks through a field, do the barking dogs change its path? The lion keeps moving, undisturbed. It does not pause to explain itself to creatures that do not understand its nature. Yet, how often do we stop to explain, to defend, to seek approval from those who will never see our vision? How much energy do we waste on justifying ourselves to those who have already decided not to understand us? Society teaches us to seek validation, to follow rules written by people who don't know our name. The expectation is clear: fit in, follow the path, seek approval. But the ones who make history, they are the ones who choose what to ignore. They ignore the voices that say, stay in line. They ignore the fear that whispers, what if you fail? And in doing so, they rise, stronger, freer, untouchable. The more you ignore the shoulds of the world, the more aligned opportunities appear. The more you detach from the need to be understood, the more you are drawn toward what truly matters. But ignoring isn't about arrogance, it's about wisdom. There is a difference between ignoring out of fear and ignoring out of strength. The weak ignore because they are afraid to face the truth. The strong ignore because they have already found their truth. There's a Buddhist saying, the one who is silent knows more than the one who shouts. Mastering the art of ignoring doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care selectively. It means you are no longer available for pointless battles, for energy-draining arguments, for expectations that suffocate your soul. What you ignore defines you as much as what you embrace. If you ignore distractions, you become focused. If you ignore critics, you become unshaken. If you ignore negativity, you become light. Every moment, you are feeding something. Either you are feeding your growth, your peace, your vision, or you are feeding doubt, fear, and noise. You must decide what deserves your attention, because what you give energy to, you give life to. The greatest transformation begins when you stop trying to prove yourself. The phoenix does not rise by convincing the world it is ready. It simply rises. And so must you. Let the fire of your focus burn away everything that dims your light. Leave the ashes behind. Rise. Not because the world allows you to, but because you have chosen to. What will you ignore today to reclaim your power? Quick summary of 10 principles. Power of ignoring others. Ignoring isn't indifference. It's a way to reclaim your energy. Protect your peace by filtering out unnecessary distractions. Here's a surprise. Ignoring can actually be an act of compassion. Try this. Go on a 24-hour opinion fast and see the difference. Trap of reaction. Automatic reactions enslave you. Pause to break free. Surprise. Silence disrupts toxicity. Apply. Breathe for 10 seconds before responding. Why we argue. Ego craves victory, not truth. Surprise. Walking away controls the narrative. Apply. Ask. Will this matter in 10 years? Art of non-response. Silence is a language loud minds can't decode. Surprise. Non-response denies others drama. Apply. Limit replies to 5 words. When to speak. Stay silent. Speak only if it improves silence. Surprise. Unsaid words often hold wisdom. Apply. Ask. Is this kind? Necessary? Avoiding conflict. Conflict is optional. Refuse to play. Surprise. Agreeing superficially disarms aggression. Apply. Respond. Interesting perspective. Freedom of not getting hooked. Detach from hooks. Praise criticism. Surprise. Indifference to praise is harder. Apply. Burn a recent critique. Compliment. Unshakable mind. Train mindfulness daily. Surprise. The enemy is illusion of control. Apply. Take 3 mindful breaths before meals. Illusion of control. Let others misunderstand you. Surprise. Selfish boundaries are a compliment. Apply. Release one person's approval today. Alchemy of energy. Redirect energy to self-mastery. Surprise. Enemies are unpaid teachers. Apply. Audit draining interactions. The greatest rebellion in a noisy world is inner silence. A Zen proverb says, "The quieter you become, the more you can hear." Every judgment, insult, or demand is a ripple on water. Touch it, and it distorts. Walk away, and the surface stills to reflect the sky. What if your power lies not in fighting waves, but in becoming the ocean? Buddhism teaches right effort, not straining to control others, but mastering your focus. Think of your attention as a spotlight. Shine it on pettiness, and you feed shadows. Aim it inward, and you illuminate your path. Ask yourself, what dragons are you fueling with your gaze? To be unshakable, you must first be unmoved. Modern life is a storm of opinions, but storms pass. The oak breaks, the bamboo bends. Ignoring isn't weakness, it's the flexibility to endure. When you stop chasing validation, you discover a truth. You were never lost. You just forgot to stop searching. Zen masters say, chop wood, carry water. Wisdom isn't grand gestures, but daily acts of defiance. Muting notifications, smiling at provocation, letting go of debates. Each small choice to ignore wisely is a brick in your fortress of peace. What world could you build if you stopped rebuilding others? The wound is where the light enters you. Every time you ignore wisely, you heal. You reclaim your narrative. You stop being a guest in your own life and become the host. Press like if this sparked your inner rebel. Share to awaken others. Subscribe to Deep Wisdom, your sanctuary for timeless truths. Comment, what will you ignore today to finally begin living? Zen lives in action. Start now.